Good morning, Gavin. Thanks so much for joining us. First of all, tell us about this report that was commissioned by the DA post-elections. What does it say, and is Maimane on the chopping block?
Well, his head is on the chopping block. Whether or not the guillotine will fall is dependent on what happens in the next few hours in this meeting, this Federal Council meeting at the DA's headquarters. And essentially, the review of the DA's performance in the 2019 elections is the big talking point at this meeting. And we understand that the reported recommendations of the report are that Maimane should step down as the DA's leader. It calls for a leadership refresh, but it's also scathing on the relationship that's been built over time between the Democratic Alliance and the EFF. Remember, the EFF, not a formal coalition partner of the DA, but cooperating with it at times. So the report is scathing on how Maimane has positioned the DA in the run-up to the 2019 elections, and essentially blames him for the loss in support of the DA. Remember, they lost about 2.5%. And last night, they were supposed to make a decision about what to do with this report, whether to adopt it or reject it, and it seems they're unable to do so. This morning, that discussion is continuing, and the outcome of that discussion would be the first indicator on whether or not Maimane will last another term as the DA leader. He, of course, calling for an early Congress.
Yes, and also he's the main story on much of the newspapers across the country today. He's been speaking out about showing the door to those who seek to divide the party. Is this a new tone from him? Do you sense a different resolve coming through?
He's certainly more emboldened to speak out and take on his critics, and that's essentially what he did in this opening address to the Federal Council meeting. Remember that last year we heard Helen Zille confirming that she had been approached at her official Leeuwkop residence in the Western Cape to form another political party, and she goes further in this weekend's newspapers, particularly the Sunday Times, saying that the discussion was about the DA's future, and although someone proposed forming another party, no decision was made to do so. And essentially the people that she had met at her official residence while Western Cape Premier decided that they should try to regain some control within the party or fight for the DA's values. And it seems as if that's what Maimane attacked in his opening address, telling his detractors that the door is open if they want to leave, and that they should go and form their own pure liberal party if they wanted to do so. This, of course, as Maimane is backed into a corner. He may have the support of the provincial leaders, but all indicators are that Helen Zille or Mike Waters hold the majority of support among the delegates attending this Federal Council meeting. So Maimane not holding back, launching a full-on attack, but will it be enough to convince delegates that he's still the right man to lead the DA? We'll have to wait and see.
So it's not a two-horse race at this stage. I would have imagined it's Trollop versus Zille.
Yeah, there was much anticipation about Mike Waters and Thomas Walters withdrawing their names from the lists of candidates before the elections, but the officials in the DA have confirmed that they didn't withdraw, and the impact of this could be quite interesting. In one regard, we know that Helen Zille and Mike Waters share a similar constituency among DA delegates here at this meeting, but Athol Trollop and Thomas Walters also share a similar constituency. So it's still a two-horse race between Trollop and Helen Zille, but some delegates may choose to vote for Waters or Walters, and thus decreasing the number of votes that Trollop or Thomas or Helen Zille could receive. So it might dilute the support of the two front-runners, but they are still ahead of the other two when it comes to the position of Federal Council chairperson.
The Report newspaper has this morning quoting James Self saying that Maimane must go. Has that resonated at the conference where you're at? Has there been any comment, anyone speaking to you about that this morning?
Well, it's certainly something the delegates are talking about, and James Self saying that the findings of the review report, which calls for Maimane to step aside, should be accepted by Maimane, is a big move, and essentially he's lending his support to Helen Zille or to Mike Waters. And remember that James Self, having held the position for 19 years, holds much sway among the delegates here at this Federal Council, who he has essentially stewarded over the last term since the DA's Congress. And so James Self's underhanded or one could say indirect endorsement of Helen Zille on the day when the voting is supposed to happen will definitely have some influence, and it might just be enough to get Helen Zille over the line and have her return to the DA as the Federal Council chairperson. Of course, whoever the new Federal Council chairperson is, they'll be briefing the public at around midday for the first time.
I was going to say, is there any chance that that might be delayed?
There is at this point, particularly because they weren't able to take a decision on what to do with the review report last night. That's an item which they had anticipated would be off the agenda by this morning, and then today would be dominated by voting, counting the votes, and the announcement and an early adjournment. I've heard some DA delegates also say that they're hoping to catch the Bok game at 12 o'clock, so they'll try to rush through it, but because of the delayed discussion, it seems as if we might just get the announcement a little bit later.
We'll be chatting to you all the way through. Thank you very much, Gervin Whittles, reporting from the DA's Federal Council meeting underway in Johannesburg. The results expected at noon today.